Tonight on CFTK-TV News, an update on the BC-GEU strike action, the new parking lot at the Casino Regional Hospital opens, and upgrades are planned for both Lake Ellis Lake Park and Seven Sisters Park.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on this Monday, September 22nd, 2025. I'm Jaylene Matthews. A new emergency department at Prince Rupert's Regional Hospital is now open. The province says it includes a new registration area and main lobby, a larger triage and trauma area, and improved high acuity unit rooms, which provide enhanced infection prevention control measures and better patient privacy. Funding for the upgraded emergency department includes $9.9 million from the province and $6.6 million from the Northwest Regional Hospital District. They say the joint $16.5 million investment reflects a unified approach to meeting the community's growing need for high-quality, accessible emergency services. The emergency department at the Prince Rupert Hospital serves an average of 43 patients per day, with approximately 16,000 visits per year. It has been plagued with closures in recent years, causing serious service disruptions to the communities of Prince Rupert, Port Edward, 4 coastal Tsimshian communities, and Haida Gwaii. The province says the upgrades to the emergency department at Prince Rupert's Regional Hospital are part of the government's work to improve and expand access to healthcare infrastructure in communities throughout BC. And the Casino Regional Hospital's parking lot opened today in Terrace. According to the communications advisor of Northern Health, there will be 313 free parking spaces available for patients, visitors, and staff. Northern Health says they have no plans to bring paid parking to Casino Regional Hospital at this time. The temporary gravel parking area will serve as overflow hospital parking. Now we will hear from the president of the BC-GEU about how the union's ongoing strike has been progressing to this point. CFTK-TV's Kale Maslin has more information.
The BC General Employees Union has been on strike for close to 4 weeks now, and it has resulted in over 8,500 public sector workers making up a total of 19 picket lines across BC. And while it has been mentioned before, BC-GEU President Paul Finch has publicly reiterated why exactly this strike is happening.
There's many drivers of that. One of the main ones, of course, is that civil servants over the course of our last 3 years of our contract fell behind inflation, but also the last 10 years of our contract, we fell behind inflation. But worse than that, and I think this is a better measure than inflation, the average wage in BC has been going up much higher than inflation. And so over that 10-year period, we lost over 12% to the average wage in BC. And so today in British Columbia, civil servants make 2.7% less than the average wage of British Columbians as a whole.
While no part of the province could avoid these strikes' effects forever, Finch also went on to specify how northwestern BC was being affected by the strike.
Right now in the Northwest, we have people on strike predominantly who are in an environment and finance and resource ministry approvals operations. That's kind of the bulk of the people that are on strike right now. Is environment and resource approval operations.
Finch then confirmed that the two sides were not at the negotiating table at the time, and he wasn't sure when that fact might change, since another point of their job action is to try and get the government to negotiate with them.
The fact that the price of wages across the whole province, especially in the private sector, have gone up dramatically, and government has been slow to follow suit over the last decade, I think that we're now at an inflection point where it's clear that this is no longer tenable. And that's why we're on strike for fair wages.
Finch last stated that the BC-GEU doesn't think a new deal would have a major impact on BC's deficit budget, and that they strongly believe the government has the room to reach a fair deal with them. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Kale Maslin.
New upgrades are planned for both Lake Ellis Lake Park and Seven Sisters Park. At Lake Ellis Lake Park, accessible parking stalls will be constructed along with a pathway and accessible mat to improve access to the beach. Some picnic tables will be replaced with accessible tables, and the toilet building will be upgraded to improve accessibility. The province says upgrades to the access trail between the group campsite and the main campground are also part of the $200,000 project scheduled to begin this winter. The upgrades are among several improvements during the past 3 years. In 2023, 2 kilometers of the Twin Spruce Trail in Lake Elslake Park were upgraded to be more accessible and resilient to weather. In 2024, 8 campsites were added to the Furlong Bay campground, along with other upgrades as part of the $1.8 million project. As for the Seven Sisters Park, the first kilometer of the 3-kilometer Watson Lakes Trail is being widened and the grade is being reduced to make it easier for hiking. The $400,000 project also includes new gravel tent pads, a backcountry toilet, a bear cache, and picnic tables at the first camping area located approximately 1 kilometer from the trailhead. In addition, the parking lot is being expanded with 13 new spaces. Coming up next, new legislation on hate crimes. The District of Kitimat has notified the public that they are placing their water system under a water quality advisory due to elevated turbidity levels. While the advisory is in effect, Northern Health is recommending that elderly people, kids, pregnant women, and people with weaker immune systems boil their water. The current leader of the Conservative Party will soon face leadership review and weighed in on that on CTV's Question Period.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
A highly anticipated return to the House of Commons this week.
My mother taught me never to be late, so please forgive me for my late arrival to the session.
But it took Pierre Poilievre a by-election win last month for him to get back here after he lost his seat in Carleton, a riding he'd held for 20 years as his party lost the election. Now the Conservative Party leader's next test is just months away.
One more question, if you permit me, on another vote that you're going to face, and that's the leadership review in January. Do you have a magic number?
No, I don't believe in magic.
In a one-on-one interview on CTV's Question Period with Vassy Kapelos, Poilievre said there's no specific level of support he's looking to get from his party, even when pressed again.
Do you have a number at which you think you need in order to remain as leader?
I don't know.
Why not?
I'll be working to win over the people of the Conservative Party who will be there, and our message will be that I'm the leader that will bring forward the Canada that will restore the promise of the country.
The Conservative Party's constitution requires a leadership review if a leader doesn't resign after an election loss. According to the latest data from Nanos Research, Poilievre's personal popularity is more than 20 points behind Prime Minister Mark Carney's.
A leadership review is sort of like a family meeting, right? It's not the public's perception of Pierre Poilievre right now that we're worried about. It's the party's perception.
But Conservative strategist Larissa Waller says there is no worry within the Conservative Party.
So the family's actually pretty happy with the performance of the leader.
Poilievre's leadership review will take place in January in Calgary, the home of his new riding.
A new bill from the federal government will condemn more hate crimes, including the promotion of hateful symbols. CTV's Martin McMahon explains.
From vandalism at synagogues across the country to Vancouver being described as the anti-Asian hate capital of the world, the pressure had been building for the feds to do something. And now, the Liberal government tabling a bill that would introduce 4 new hate crime offenses.
Sadly, there is no community that is immune from hate in this country. There are violent attacks against Black Canadians, rising anti-Asian hate. We see Gurdwaras and Mandirs vandalized, and the LGBTQ2+ community threatened with and suffering violence.
The legislation would outlaw the promotion of hateful symbols, including the Nazi swastika. There would also be new protections for religious institutions. Vancouver's Jewish community is among those welcoming this.
I think it's progress. I think we're moving in the right direction on this, and it should feel pretty good for communities that have been vulnerable.
But others have concerns about how it would be implemented.
The application of it is going to be really important to make sure that the right balance is struck
between making sure that Canadians still have the basic ability to express themselves, and we're maintaining civil liberties.
I think it's clear that this bill is really targeted at a particular type of expression, which is in support of Palestine, and it's part of a larger pattern that we see across Canada of governments targeting this particular type of expression.
October 7th!
But laws don't always result in prosecution. Last year, Vancouver police arrested Charlotte Cates, the leader of listed terror organization Samidoun Palestinian Prisoner Solidarity Network. Nearly a year and a half later, no movement from BC prosecutors on those recommended charges of willful promotion of hatred and public incitement of hatred. Martin McMahon, CTV News, Vancouver.
Turning to the weather, a rainfall warning was in effect today for the North Coast, but that's expected to clear after today. Today also marks the official start of fall. September 22nd marks the autumnal equinox, where both day and night are of approximately equal length. Tonight on the North Coast, expect a few showers ending after midnight, then cloudy with a 40% chance of showers, winds from the south at 20 kilometers an hour, a low of 10 degrees. Over the next few days on the North Coast, the rain should lighten up a little, and you might even see the sun tomorrow before the rain comes back later in the week. Daily highs 12 to 14 degrees, overnight lows from 8 to 10 degrees. Tonight in the Terrace-Kitimat area, expect showers, winds from the south at 20 kilometers an hour, gusting to 40, becoming light after midnight, a low of 9 degrees. Over the next few days in the Terrace-Kitimat area, expect a mix of sun, clouds, and showers before the rain returns Thursday through Saturday. Daily highs 12 to 14 degrees, overnight lows 9-10 degrees. Tonight in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, it's looking cloudy with a 40% chance of showers, winds from the southwest at 30 kilometers an hour, gusting to 60, becoming light near midnight, a low of +3. Over the next few days in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, expect a mix of sun, clouds, and showers. Daily highs 9 to 15 degrees, overnight lows between 1 and 4 degrees. Checking your highway conditions around the Northwest now. On Highway 16, there's construction in Prince Rupert with a detour in effect. Also water pooling, ditching, bridge maintenance, road maintenance, utility work, construction work, and paving operations underway. On Highway 37, watch for water pooling, construction work, and bridge construction. On Highway 37A, there's a section with falling rocks. On the Niska Highway, watch for water pooling and mowing as well. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, the volunteers that assist with the ruins of wildfires. Prime Minister Mark Carney says his government's move to recognize Palestinian statehood is consistent with Canada's long-time policy to support a two-state solution. Carney says Canada and other countries are actively trying to create conditions for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, and then a peace process. The Prime Minister spoke today in New York City as he attends the United Nations General Assembly. His remarks come a day after the United Kingdom, Australia, and Portugal joined Canada in recognizing an independent Palestinian state. After a young man died in an altercation with police, his parents are speaking out about the circumstances of his death. CTV's Reagan Hasegawa reports.
See you later, bud. Love you.
Crystal de Balenhard visits the memorial of her only child. She's been coming here for 7 months, grappling with a pain no parent should ever experience.
It feels like an eternity, yet it also feels like yesterday. Not knowing the circumstances that led up to the shooting, is excruciating for both my husband and I.
Hey, yo, what's up?
15-year-old Chase de Ballenhard left his Clayton Heights home the afternoon of February 9th. About 20 minutes later, RCMP say they received a call about a person in distress with a firearm. His parents say it was an unloaded pellet gun.
The pellet gun was up in my office. It was locked. I unfortunately had unlocked that drawer to get something else out.
They believe he may have taken it out to record a video, but because he functioned more like a 10-year-old, he didn't have the capacity to understand the perceived danger.
All the kids go in the bushes over there and they shoot off their pellet guns. Well, the cops have been called there a few times.
Witnesses say a large group of police officers closely followed Chase for several blocks.
He was in between two cars. He actually tripped, fell, got up, and then continued on.
There was nobody on a megaphone, nobody talking to this kid to de-escalate the situation. It was just cops sort of on a duck hunt.
They were kind of there to get something done, right?
The next few moments were caught on surveillance camera. They appear to show Chase raising the pellet gun to his head.
Come on, man! You don't want to do that! Let it go! Let it go, man! Let the gun down!
We're stopping the video here, but witnesses say there were 2 shots. What was caught on camera was less than a minute of what police say was an extensive interaction that lasted 40 minutes total.
Chase is neurodiverse. He needs you to say something slowly, not aggressively, pause, wait, he'll respond. If there's multiple people yelling at him or he feels threatened, he's going to try to regulate his emotions. And we've taught him to walk away. And that's what he was doing, walk away.
I did see him kind of, flailing a little bit, some hand gestures and movements and things like that.
I believe that the RCMP misunderstood behaviors characteristic to autism as threatening.
That's where it came in. It hit this picture, and then it ricocheted up there in the ceiling.
A stray bullet pierced through John Peterson's house. He says the situation was not handled well.
The cops were up there fist bumping each other and laughing and joking. It's like, holy shit, man, you just killed a kid, right?
Why didn't anyone go around and knock him down? Why did they all charge at him? Why wouldn't they break up and maybe come from behind?
You can't tell me that like 40 or 50 cops can't handle a little boy. They need more training. They really do.
Former appeals court judge and Attorney General Wally Opel says more details are needed before determining whether the officer's actions were justified.
I would need to know what was in the mind of the officer when that incident happened.
But by law, Opel says police can use as much force as necessary, but it can't be excessive, and there must be some form of de-escalation.
Usually when there's a weapon, lethal force can be acceptable depending on the circumstances. And it would also depend on the type of weapon there is.
Opel says that's why the Independent Investigations Office investigation is so crucial.
Because of the split-second decisions police are required to make, the law gives them a wide latitude to use as much discretion as is necessary, but it cannot be excessive.
There's nothing that can bring my son back, nothing at all. But we can learn from this, we can grow.
The IAO says it can't provide any updates on the investigation. The RCMP says it's unable to comment until that work is complete. Reagan Hasegawa, CTV News, Surrey.
A woman who lost her home to wildfire is now looking for whatever is left with the help of a group of volunteers. CTV's Garrett Berry reports.
The ashes, rubble, and foundation are all that's left of this home, the retirement dream of Deborah Coombs in Western Bay.
I had a root cellar and a barn and a woodshed and a workshop and the house, two-story house.
She's searching for memories, things left behind when she fled this home as wildfire approached last month.
One thing that I was really hoping to find was my great-grandfather's cribbage board. So it was over 100 years old.
Today, help from Team Rubicon, a group of mostly volunteers, who are sifting through the ashes for keepsakes or valuables.
You get sort of personally committed when you get down into somebody's foundation, and you really want to find it for them. And if you can't, it's not a good day.
It's an emotional job. These volunteers come from all over the country. There are even some who were once on the other end of the deal, having their house examined and picked through.
A number of our members are people who used to be people we've helped. And so we know it does have a positive effect on a number of people because they end up joining us.
One of the biggest losses here in Western Bay is the school, Cabot Academy. It was, of course, the center of the community, and it's not clear whether it will be rebuilt.
Maybe these communities will never be the same. It certainly looks that way as you approach from the highway.
It's been a lot to try to get used to and to imagine the families that were here, the homes that were here, the love that was here. And now we have ash and rubble.
All the more reason for Team Rubicon's volunteers to try to find whatever they can. After about an hour here, maybe a small breakthrough.
This is the heaviest, and your cribbage board is probably made out of a hardwood.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that's probably what's that cribbage board.
Deborah said she wasn't much of a crib player, but this and some other keepsakes will go into a new house here. She's hoping to rebuild on this very site. Garrett Berry, CTV News in Western Bay, Newfoundland and Labrador.
Next, we'll take a look at the stock markets. The Canadian dollar fell almost 0.2 cents. The price of gold rose $69.30. Oil dropped 10 cents. Natural gas was down 10 cents. Aluminum fell $4.50. In Toronto, the TSX was up 191 points. The Venture Index gained 18. In New York, the Dow Jones was up 66 points, and the Nasdaq rose almost 158 points. Still ahead, the death penalty is in question for Luigi Mangione. ABC will reinstate Jimmy Kimmel's Late Night Show after suspending it due to his comments about the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. The network announced today that the show would return on Tuesday. An update now on the Luigi Mangione case and whether he is eligible for the death penalty is in question.
This morning, accused killer Luigi Mangione is urging a judge to dismiss federal charges that could get him the death penalty if he's convicted in the fatal shooting of United Healthcare Chief Executive Brian Thompson. His attorneys compared Mangione's dramatic return to New York, clambering out of a helicopter in shackles and surrounded by heavily armed officers, to a scene out of a Marvel movie that they said amounted to unfair, unconstitutional prejudice. The defense also pointing to public statements by Attorney General Pam Bondi.
If there was ever a death case, this is one. This guy is charged with hunting down a CEO, a father of two, a married man, hunting him down and executing him.
Defense attorneys said Bondi's statements were gratuitous and designed to make Mangione seem dangerous to the country and menacing to the Attorney General.
In this case, it is a little unusual because before the grand jury indicated that it would seek the death penalty, the Attorney General did make statements about this case. That is not typical, and that is why the defense counsel is seeking to have this indictment thrown out, or in the alternative, they're seeking to have the death penalty removed from the indictment.
Federal prosecutors have not responded, but they've previously said Mangione deserves a death sentence because he tried to normalize the use of violence to make a point. Mangione convinced a state judge last week to throw out terrorism charges, though that same judge noted there's evidence Mangione murdered Thompson in a premeditated and calculated execution.
That's our news for now. Thanks for watching.